It's just frozen on. Jesus. Yes, I know it's not. I'm coming to get you. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Hey everybody, it's the Red. Welcome back to Sunrider Liberation Day, the return chapter. Right then, last we left off, you won't believe what a head job would get you. Thank you, Twitch. I gotta go away. What was I doing? Oh right, yes. Apparently doing her later. That comes later. Coming later. Oh god, let's just move on. Idiot! Get us out of here before more of them show up. His heart sank when a new massive rider appeared before them, one which struck terror into Shield's heart. Shit! So this is where you are hiding. But this is where your mission ends. The Nightmare Ascendant raised its firehawk gun and took aim. But before it could fire, it was enveloped in explosions. Phoenix and Paladin coming in to assist. I believe this happened, the last one was Soul as well. Hey, I'm your enemy prototype. The Phoenix raced ahead and came with the Nightmare Ascendant katana drawn. The Nightmare Ascendant met the Phoenix's blade with its own. In a grand display of its overwhelming strength, the Ascendant shoved the Phoenix away like a titan pushing back the valiant hero who had dared to stand against it. We'll distract it. Asaga, you know what you have to do. The Captain. Shield's heart pounded as the blackjack hit its thrusters, leaving the Nightmare Ascendant to Akari and Kriska. You guys better whack that thing good for me. She'll do the same for me later. I'm on a fucking roll right down a ditch. You two, don't die. Just don't die. Good plan. Love it. Best plan ever. Shield's balled his hands into fists. He desired with all his heart to remain with the others for the battle, but his own mission was too great to abandon. And he wanted to preserve his own life. That's the mission that's too great to abandon. I can only trust neither girls. Come on, my other self, you better pull through. With that, the blackjack left the battle behind and vanished into the abyss of space. Ellipses followed. Many ellipses, yes. 2 hours for Liberation Day Massacre. Okay, so what's going to happen now? With Solo, we assassinated Porchigara. So, how's this going to work? Shields waited with a Saga on the upper balcony of the award hall. They awaited this position for the better part of the past 20 hours. Shields had the advantage of knowing where the celebration party was going to be held in advance. Thanks to his dramatic escape from the Sunrider, security of the celebration would certainly be on the lookout for him, but they would never expect that he had already arrived at the site hours before the battle, much less the party location, was even decided. News of the liberation of Sarah had finally hit the holonet. After a night of desperate fighting, the tide of the battle had finally turned when Chigara devised a method to interfere with the prototype's brainwaves by entering their mind stream. This led Venusaur Fontana to regain control of his ships and launch a devastating pincer attack at the remaining loyalist pact forces. When the prototype leader fell in the Nightmare Ascendant, all remaining pact vessels surrendered unconditionally. Venusaur Fabulous, newly instated leader of PAC, shortly thereafter announced his intent to sign a peace treaty with the Solar Alliance, wherein PAC relinquished all military control over the neutral rim. A victory celebration wherein Chigara would be awarded with the Ferelden Cross was announced as well. Basically, nothing's changed from the past. Everything we did at this point was meaningless, but now is the time when we can make everything right. The time's finally come. Shields looked down to the stage from the balcony, a perfect sniper's perch. He was approximately 150 meters from where Chigara would stand at the stage to accept the medal, and then drop a pair of hunter drones into the hall. Too far for shock rounds, but more than close enough to sniper dead. Shields closed his eyes. This was the only option he had left. Everything else had failed. Chigara. His heart pounded. Sweat matted his uniform. This would be where he would kill the former love of his life. Asaga wrapped her arms around him. It's for the greater good. This way you can be with me. I'm like turning her into Yandere here. This is not good. We're finally here. Oh wait, Captain. We're here to kill Chigara, aren't we? It's the only way we can stop her now. And the only way I can make sure you won't fuck her instead of me ever again. She'll swallowed. I'll be the one to do it. This is my mission. It's the reason why I was sent here. I'm going to be the only one to bear this burden. It's mine to carry. Doing his best to force a smile on his face, Shields put his hand on top of Asaga's head and patted her soft hair. You just stand guard. Make sure our position isn't detected. Alright. The two of them once again sat down and waited. Ellipses. Yep. Finally the moment came. The award hall was filled with guests. Shields grabbed the rifle and looked down through his scope. Sure enough, he could see himself and Chigara sitting in the front table. Chigara stood and walked towards the stage. This is it. Sweat dripped down his nose despite the air-conditioned hall. He could hear his temples pounding as blood coursed to his head. If his heart pounded any louder, he feared he would go deaf. He trained the crosshairs between Chigara's eyes. All he would have to do was pull the trigger. Then none of the nightmares of the past would happen. The Admiral would not be shot before his very eyes. The Alliance officers would not be gunned down. The Alliance would not attempt to unleash the tactical paradox core upon his homeworld. The galaxy would not be thrust into a massive war to the bitter end. His ship would not be lost in a final suicide attack. He would instead return home at the end of a hard-fought war. He would finally return to that mountain and bury his sister. Bury her so deep that her ghost would no longer haunt him in his nightmares. Memories flashed by in his head of Chigara's pantsuit. He had loved her. He would have dropped everything else in his life to open her bakery. He had promised her that he would put a bun in the oven, that he would burn the very galaxy if it meant protecting her. Yet he found himself here breaching that very promise. His eyes began to water. He had imagined they would get married, that they would have children. The scars of the past would heal as he lived out the remainder of his life with her in peacetime. Her voice echoed in his head. It was the only voice which soothed his agony. Every time he heard Moray's voice, accusing him of abandoning her, Chigara would tell him that he had done his very best, that his sister did not resent him for abandoning her to her fate. She would call him a hero. 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 And yet, that hero had his finger upon the very trigger which would end her life. No. It was all a lie. Tears streamed down his cheeks. She said all those things just to control me. In the end, she was nothing but a prototype. A dirty, filthy, lying prototype. She betrayed me. Betrayed everyone. Traitor! Yet with his heart twisted so he could no longer breathe. He had to end this now, or else he would choke upon his regrets and drop dead. Right. I do kind of want to see what happens with a saga if you don't pull the trigger. I'm assuming it's the exact same thing, but on the potential it gives me another ending card, I'll go back and do it anyway. And if it is something different, I'll record it, or I'll actually upload it. If not, yeah, whatever. But in any case, for now, pull the trigger. Hey, Chigara! Shields peeled his eyes open and summoned all the strength in his body, or else he knew he would back out at the last moment. He channeled everything he had within him to his finger and pulled the trigger. The single sharp crack of the rifle echoed through the hall. Chigara took the bullet directly to the head. Shields kept his eyes open. The back of her skull burst open, splattering the floor with her brain and blood. She crumpled to the floor, her face contorting with pain. Finally, her face came to rest upon an expression of relief. Alice had finally died, leaving Chigara with just a split second of knowledge that Alice's final desperate plan to destroy all that they had accomplished had failed. The light faded from Chigara's eyes as she relished at Alice's defeat. With that, Alliance servicemen burst into the room and evacuated the Alliance dignitaries. Everyone else ran from the room, crouched down and covering their heads, except for the other shields, who ran to the stage and cradled Chigara's dead body. The massacre was thwarted. The future was saved. Shields crumpled down to the floor, sobbing. He had succeeded. I did it. I changed history. I won. And yet he felt nothing but a black void in his heart. Asaga embraced him with all her heart, trying to comfort him in his darkest moment. You did it, Captain. You saved everyone. We won. Asaga. He sobbed into her shoulder. I killed her. I killed Chigara. And in the end, she was relieved. Oi, Captain, stop it. Stop crying like that. We're supposed to be happy, alright? We won. We won. We won. Why are you crying like that? If you don't stop, then I still... Chigara. She was my friend. Asaga's face crumpled. She fell to the floor in tears. Shields sobbed in horror at what he had just done. Yeah. Took you long enough to remember that she's actually your friend, Asaga. And that's one really dark moment to get that thunderbolt of revelation, I guess you could say, even though technically she should have already known that. She just conveniently forgot it. That's even more depressing than it was with Sola. Oh, God. The world around him faded to white. A time paradox now triggered, this universe ended, and a new universe was born in its place. A mostly happy universe where the Liberation Day massacre did not exist, but also one where Shields never got over the scars he received throughout his desperate mission to liberate Sarah. Well, yeah. Want to make sure I don't skip over the ending thing, which is probably going to happen with Claude. Oh, right, this first. Shield sat on his bed in his apartment. 5 years had passed since he thwarted the Prototype's plan to assassinate Admiral Gray and the Alliance military leaders. In the universe which resulted from his actions, the timeline was as follows. Kato Shields discovered that his chief engineer was a Prototype spy, thanks to a misplaced holo left by her accomplice, the ship's doctor. He managed to thwart the mass assassination by sniping her dead during the awards ceremony, moments before she carried out the attack. While he was briefly detained by the Alliance after he turned himself in, the ensuing investigation uncovered undeniable evidence of Chigara's plot, completely vindicating Shields. In the end, he ended up being the one to receive a medal. Yet, killing Chigara changed Shields forever. Shortly after the restoration of Sarah High Command, Shields transferred himself to a minor desk job far away from galactic fame. Instead, he lived out the following years as a recluse, never once setting out to space again. Every night he struggled through nightmares, where he was visited by the rotting corpses of Chigara and his dead sister. Every night their ghosts reminded him of a single truth, that he had failed to save them. Eventually he became an insomniac and had to be medicated to be able to function normally. His sole source of comfort was his loving wife Asaga. Yet their relationship was far from easy either. When they first eloped, rumors spread through Arabia Prime their queen had abandoned her people in pursuit of romance. In the end, she was scandalized in the press, forcing her to abdicate the throne. Shortly thereafter, she vanished from public view and settled down with Shields on Sarah. Asaga's once cheerful personality vanished, and she became quiet and distant in adulthood. While Shields fell deeper into depression, Saga watched over him with nothing but a sad smile. Every night she stroked his head until he finally pretended to be asleep. Seeing Asaga's reputation get torn up because of him only fueled Shields' guilt. Yet he didn't have the motivation to do something as drastic as kill himself. Instead, he merely felt an enormous numbness. The numbness of no longer having a purpose. For the rest of his life, he would merely wander on, working at his civil servant job, picking up the usual paycheck, and grow into the Saga, until they finally disappeared from the face of the planet. Alternate Asaga end, future one of blood. Ah, well, looks like you managed to thwart the massacre, but you still mostly screwed up in the end, because Chigara ended up escaping when you kidnapped her, the ship lost all power, and the warning wasn't relayed to Fontaine in time. If you hadn't shot Chigara at the very end, things would pretty much have been exactly the same as the main story. Try again, and this time, don't waste time trying to restore the Sunrider's main reactor. Instead, find a way to prevent Alice from assuming control of Chigara during the kidnapping attempt. Then the reactor won't be shut down in the first place, you dum-dum. Tee, I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out, Captain. Fuck you, pink-haired whore. Ugh.